clouds are not spheres. Wow, that Mandelbrot quote, it really makes you stop and think, doesn't it?
It really does. It cuts right through how we usually see things.
Makes you wonder if we ever really, look properly. Have you ever just paused and taken in all the detail?
Oh, absolutely. And then you hear Barnsley saying, fractal geometry will make you see everything differently. It's like a switch flips.
A switch, yeah.
Yeah.
Suddenly you're noticing these patterns everywhere.
Hidden structures repeating themselves. The world just feels richer somehow, more complex.
Which is exactly where we're headed today. We're doing a deep dive into something called fractal abstract expressionism.
Right, sparked by this text we read, same name, basically.
Yeah, and it digs into this, well, pretty amazing intersection. You've got hard math, the natural world, and then this really free-form abstract art. Seems like totally different worlds.
That's the core of it. How do these fractal ideas help us maybe understand certain kinds of abstract art better, and what does that tell us about, well, reality itself?
And we'll also just briefly touch on another source, the evolution of AI art. Just for a quick sort of modern angle on art and tech.
Just a quick nod, yeah. Keep things contemporary.
So the mission for you listening today, basically to maybe see a kind of hidden beauty, a mathematical elegance that's not just in textbooks.
It's out there in nature, and surprisingly, maybe even in paintings that feel totally chaotic.
We're hoping for some of those aha moments,
Yeah.
Without drowning you in formulas, think of this as your shortcut to getting your head around a really cool topic.
Okay, so first things first. What are fractals? Let's lay that groundwork.
Yeah, good question. Where do we even start?
Okay, imagine a pattern. But when you zoom in really close on any part of it, you just find more detail, more complexity.
Okay. Like endless detail.
Pretty much, yeah. Theoretically infinite detail. And often, the smaller bits you zoom into, they kind of look like the whole thing, or at least share some characteristics.
That's the self-similarity thing.
Exactly. Self-similarity across different scales. And this seemingly bottomless complexity. Those are the two big ideas.
So it's not just like Russian dolls, where each one is just a smaller copy.
Well, that gives you a starting intuition, but it's more nuanced. Sometimes it is exact copies, like in pure math examples. But often, especially in nature, it's more like statistical similarity. The rules that generate the pattern are similar at different scales.
Okay. And you mentioned regular geometry like circles and squares. Euclidean stuff, that doesn't quite cut it for describing, say, a coastline.
Right. Euclidean shapes have dimensions we get like 1D lines, 2D planes, 3D solids, whole numbers. But think about a rugged mountain range or the surface of your lungs. They're wiggly, complex.
They're not smooth spheres or perfect cones. Definitely not.
Exactly. So to really capture that complexity, mathematicians like Felix Hausdorff started thinking about, well, fractional dimensions, dimensions that aren't whole numbers.
Whoa, okay. Fractional dimensions like that crumpled napkin idea.
Precisely. It's not flat like a 2D sheet anymore, but it doesn't fill up 3D space either. Its dimension is somewhere between 2 and 3. It captures that intricate, space-filling crumpledness.
Okay, my mind is slightly bent already. Fractional dimensions.
Yeah.
So who came up with the actual word fractal?
That was Benoit Mandelbrot back in 1975.
Mandelbrot again.
Yeah, the same guy. He took it from the Latin word fractus.
Which means?
Broken or fractured, which sort of hints at that irregular, jagged quality they often have.
Makes sense.
Now, the super technical definition involves something called Hausdorff-Basikovich dimension. But honestly, for understanding the concept, focusing on infinite complexity and self-similarity gets you most of the way there.
Infinite complexity. Keep zooming, always more detail.
Got it.
And self-similarity. Like a small branch looking kind of like the whole tree or a bit of coastline echoing the bigger shape.
Exactly. And like we touched on, that similarity can be exact, like in the Cox snowflake, a geometric construction. Every tiny triangle is a perfect scaled copy.
Okay, pure math.
But in nature, it's usually statistical. Look at a river network. Small streams join bigger ones, which join the main river. The branching pattern isn't identical at each stage, but the statistics of how it branches the angles, the lengths they follow, similar rules across scales.
Right, so nature's fractals are a bit messier, more organic.
You got it. Statistical self-similarity.
So this isn't just some weird math thing. You're saying these patterns are everywhere, in nature. Give me some killer examples.
Oh, they are definitely everywhere once you look. We mentioned trees and rivers, classic branching fractals. Snowflakes are famously fractal.
Right, intricate.
Coastlines, the shapes of clouds, mountain ranges, even inside us, the branching of our blood vessels, our airways in the lungs, even the neural pathways in our brain.
Wow, okay. Lungs, brains. That suggests there's a reason for this, right? An evolutionary advantage.
Very likely, yeah. Think about efficiency. Branching patterns, like in blood vessels or lungs, allow you to pack a huge surface area into a small volume.
Ah, for oxygen exchange or nutrient delivery.
Exactly. Maximize the contact area. Think of a tree's leaves catching sunlight. And also, resilience. A jagged fractal coastline might actually dissipate wave energy better than a smooth one.
Huh. Never thought of it that way. Efficiency and resilience baked into the geometry. Okay, nature's full of fractals. Got it. Now, the big leap. Abstract expressionism, like Pollock, Rothko. That seems worlds away from math and snowflakes.
It seems like a huge leap, I know. But let's take Jackson Pollock. Those famous drip paintings. They look like pure chaos, right? Just energy flung onto a canvas.
Totally. Pure emotion spontaneity.
Well, researchers actually analyzed them. They looked at the patterns mathematically, and guess what they found?
Don't tell me. Fractals.
Measurable fractal dimensions, yeah. Typically between 1.3 and 1.9, depending on the painting and when he did it.
Seriously. So hidden inside that chaos is mathematical order. How?
It seems his technique, layering the paint, letting it drip and flow at different scales, moving around the canvas, it unintentionally created patterns with statistical self-similarity.
Like nature does.
Kind of, yeah. The patterns you see, if you look really close, resemble statistically the patterns you see when you step back and look at the whole thing. It's like he tapped into this natural pattern-forming process through his physical actions.
That is absolutely mind-blowing. He was creating natural fractal patterns without knowing it.
It seems that way. His intuition led him there.
Okay. Pollock. I can almost see it now, the layers, the complexity. But what about Mark Rothko? Big, quiet blocks of color. Where are the fractals there? That seems like the opposite of Pollock.
It's definitely more subtle with Rothko. Not the same wild energy, but look closely at his paintings, especially the edges where the color fields meet.
The boundaries.
Yeah. They're not usually sharp, perfect lines, are they? They often have this soft, slightly complex, vibrating quality. And the texture within the color fields themselves isn't perfectly uniform either.
Okay, so it's more about the micro details.
Exactly. Some analysis suggests these subtle variations in texture and boundary have fractal characteristics. It might be part of why his paintings feel so immersive, almost hypnotic.
Because they're engaging our eyes on multiple scales at once, even subconsciously. Those subtle textures and edges.
That's the idea. It's not overt like Pollock, but the underlying principles might still be at play, contributing to that powerful, enveloping effect his work has.
This really changes how you look at abstract art. It's not just random or purely emotional. There can be this hidden structural thing going on. So why do we like these patterns? Why do fractals resonate, whether in nature or art?
Well, there seems to be something inherently pleasing about them. Psychologists have actually done studies.
Oh yeah. What did they find?
People tend to show a preference for images with fractal dimensions around 1.3 to 1.5.
Wait, isn't that the range often found in natural landscapes?
Bingo! Things like clouds, trees, gentle hills. So one theory is it's maybe evolutionary. Our brains might be kind of tuned to efficiently process the visual information of our natural environment. Being good at seeing and understanding those patterns could have been useful for survival.
Finding paths, spotting resources or dangers. That makes a lot of sense. It's like our visual system finds them comfortable or engaging.
Engaging is a good word. Fractals hit this sweet spot between order and complexity. There's enough pattern for our brains to latch onto to find coherence.
Right, it's not just noise.
But there's also enough variation and surprise, that infinite detail, to keep us interested. It doesn't get boring. Aesthetic theories often talk about this balanced predictability and novelty. Fractals nail that balance.
Order and chaos held together.
Exactly. And sometimes looking at really complex fractals, or even Pollock's work, can trigger that feeling of the sublime.
The sublime, like overwhelming beauty or power.
Yeah, that sense of something vast, almost incomprehensible, but still structured. It overwhelms the senses, but engages the mind. Think about those old myths. Creatures like the Minotaur or the Sphinx.
Part human, part animal, weird combinations.
Right. They combine the familiar and the strange, creating awe. Fractals kind of do that visually familiar, repeating patterns, but arranged in endlessly complex, sometimes unsettling ways.
So fractals aren't just pretty patterns. They plug into something deeper in how we see and feel, Which, okay, leads perfectly into the philosophy side of this. How do fractals change how we think about big ideas, like infinity?
Well, infinity is such an abstract concept, right? Hard to grasp. But fractals give you a way to almost see it, or at least see its effects.
How so?
Think of the Mandelbrot set. It's a finite area on the screen. You can draw a box around it, but the boundary of that set, its perimeter, is infinitely long. It has infinite complexity packed into a finite space.
Whoa! Infinite detail within a boundary.
Yeah, it gives you a tangible handle on infinity, challenging our usual ideas about limits.
And what about that self-similarity idea? Does that work as a metaphor?
Absolutely. It's a powerful metaphor for seeing how similar patterns or processes can play out at totally different levels. Like in systems thinking, you might see similar dynamics in how cells interact, how ecosystems function, how social networks evolve, maybe even how galaxies cluster. Fractals suggest these underlying scale invariant principles might be at work. The same basic rules repeating on different scales.
So it connects the tiny to the huge. Our source even mentioned fractal music.
Right. Fractmas 2000, applying these iterative, self-similar rules to generate sound, which raises that fascinating question the author brings up.
Discovery versus creation.
Exactly. When someone creates a fractal artwork, or even fractal music, are they inventing something totally new? Or are they more like discovering a pattern that already exists within the rules of mathematics?
Like finding a beautiful landscape that was always there.
Kind of. It feels less like building from nothing and more like exploring a pre-existing territory of mathematical possibility.
That ties into the idea of fractals existing independently, like math truths or mountains.
Precisely. So the artist using fractals, maybe they're less of an owner of the pattern and more like a guide or a curator, showing us interesting parts of this vast inherent landscape.
That definitely reframes artistic creation and ownership, doesn't it?
It really does. And think about the process of how fractals are generated, often through recursion, repeating a simple step over and over.
Iteration, yeah.
You can see that as a metaphor for, say, how human knowledge builds up over generations. We take what came before, apply our own rules or insights, add complexity, building on the past.
So we're all part of this ongoing recursive unfolding.
That's one way to look at it. It suggests we're not just isolated individuals, but participants in these larger evolving patterns that transcend any single lifetime. The lines get blurry.
Blurry between what?
Between the part and the whole, maybe even between self and other. In a fractal view, each piece reflects the whole structure, and we're all interconnected parts of these larger systems. And tiny changes at one level
Can lead to big differences somewhere else. The butterfly effect.
Sort of, yeah. Differences in degree can become differences in kind as you shift scales. So it's a really dynamic way of seeing things.
This is definitely giving me a new lens to look through. Okay, now, you mentioned we deeply touch on AI art. How does all this fractal stuff connect to AI-generated images?
Well, the connection I see, and that the source hints at, is about the human role in exploring complex systems to create art.
Okay, how so?
With fractal art, a human chooses the mathematical formulas, sets the parameters, explores the resulting visual landscape, and curates the output.
Right, you're steering the math.
And with a lot of AI art generation, a human writes the prompts, guides the AI, selects from the options it produces, refines it. They're using the AI as a very sophisticated tool to explore possibility space.
Ah, so in both cases, it's human intention using a powerful tool, math formulas, or AI algorithms to explore and create visuals.
Exactly. AI becomes another medium, another tool set, perhaps vastly more complex, but still a tool leveraged by human creativity. Like fractal generating software is a tool. The focus is still on that interaction, that exploration.
Gotcha. So it's not about AI replacing artists, but artists using AI, much like they might use code to generate fractals. A parallel in the process of using computation for art.
That's a good way to frame the parallel, yeah. Leveraging computation to manifest aesthetic ideas.
Okay, this has been a lot to chew on. Let's try and wrap our heads around the key takeaways from this deep dive.
Okay, so first, fractals aren't just math oddities. They're fundamental patterns in nature. Think infinite detail, self-similarity, trees, clouds, coastlines.
And surprisingly, these same ideas pop up in art where you might least expect it, like Pollock's drips, or even subtly in Rothko's fields.
Right, which suggests we might be kind of wired to appreciate this specific blend of order and complexity that fractals offer, that 1.3 to 1.5 dimension sweet spot.
Possibly linked to our evolution, needing to understand natural environments.
And beyond just looking cool, fractals give us powerful ways to think about big ideas.
Like infinity packed into a finite space, and seeing similar patterns connecting everything from cells to galaxies.
Exactly. They challenge our neat little boxes and make us see the interconnected, recursive nature of things. It's a different way of viewing reality.
So a final thought maybe for everyone listening. As you go about your day, maybe look a bit closer. Consider the things that seem messy or chaotic in your own life.
Yeah, could there be hidden patterns there? Self-similarity across different scales of your experience, your day, your year, your relationships. Maybe there's an underlying fractal logic.
That's a fascinating, maybe slightly unnerving thought. And now that you have this fractal lens, how might it change how you see, well, everything? The veins on a leaf, the sprawl of a city.
Does it look different now? More intricate, more connected?
This has been seriously mind-expanding. If we've piqued your interest, definitely go explore more. Look up fractal art online. Find artists working with this stuff.
There's a whole world out there. This deep dive is really just scratching the surface of a truly amazing subject, a fascinating journey to start.
Example: